Confidence is a very important part of the industry. Are you confident that we're going to pull through this situation?
I think that we are possibly one of the fortunate sectors because our demographic, our customers, being yacht crew, generally less exposed to the economic climate that we're facing. Most of them, although people do have property and credit, etc., most of them don't. So I'm hoping that as a demographic we're relatively well insulated from it. But yes, confidence is the big issue, and they are as nervous as we are. Whether that influences our crew to do more training or less, we shall see, but they're certainly nervous, and the word of the crew seems to be that it's a quiet time at the moment. So, I mean, everybody, when they start their job search, when they don't find a job for 2 or 3 weeks, is nervous. I think it's an exceptional set of circumstances. In the last 4 to 6 weeks, we've seen huge changes in the markets. Everybody knows that affects owners. We've seen an election campaign winding its way to the end, and I think everybody's waiting to know whether it's good news or bad news or how it's perceived. Until there is some news on who will be the next president in the US, that's going to influence things, and I think crew are picking up on that sort of sentiment. No one's confident, put it that way. I think it's fair to say that some of them are optimistic, but no one's really confident at the moment. The sentiment seems to be that if there is a predominant voting demographic that owns yachts, even if they perceive it as bad news, at least they can plan ahead now, and I think that that's something that, we've heard that regularly.
I keep hearing rumours of yachts being tied up, mothballed, massive layoffs of crew and so on and so forth. The only thing is that when I question people, nobody actually knows when it actually happened to. There does seem to be quite a lot of urban myth going around at the moment.
That's yachting. I mean, I've heard the same myself. I've heard at least 3 boats are going to be mothballed and laid up. We point out to crew that say that or have heard this rumour that they still need to be crew. They have to be manned and looked after and maintained. So it may be a reduction in crew. I noticed that a couple of crew agencies have mentioned that they've had up to 40% reductions in their jobs, but their turnover seemed to be well, so whether that's an oversubscription of crew agencies, meaning that on an individual basis they're placing less people, it's very difficult to say, but yeah, there's always urban myths. And
that 40% could also simply be the fact that crew, because they're nervous, are not, that they're willing to stay in a job for another 6 months or spend the other season in the job rather than looking for the next step up the ladder.
Yeah, and when there's uncertainty, every time I've been through a sort of recession like this, it's had an effect on the confidence of the crew too. Some will choose to stay, some will choose to go and train, knowing that they're going to need a comparative advantage when dealing with other crew when they're looking for jobs. But certainly, it's a time of uncertainty, and it is affecting crew's outlook, definitely.
Is there still a shortage? I mean, with a 40% reduction in placement, is there still a shortage of crew?
You know, I've yet to see any real figures that would say that, that would show that. I'm not sure that there is a reduction, a shortage of crew myself.
It's a shortage of specific crew trained to a specific level with specific experience.
Yeah, there's no question. There is a shortage of engineers. I've been told recently there's a shortage of captains and there's a shortage of chefs, but it's very difficult to see where those numbers come from. I mean, although there are lots of boats in build, there seem to be an ever greater number of crew ready to come and work on them, and our training numbers are slightly on the increase over last year, and so long may it continue, and we hope it will continue, but it's difficult to say.
Looking forward, let's say a couple of years, with possible ratification of MLC 2006, from your particular sector, are you going to see any particular changes? I know there are some onuses that are put on crew placement agents, but I don't think that applies to trainers, does it?
No, I mean, we are audited and carefully monitored by all the people that of course, form the legislation that we train in accordance with. But I think as far as the MLC, we will definitely have to spend a lot of time making sure crew are aware of their rights, because with a certain extra number of rights which are going to be enforced, or enforceable shall we say, there also comes responsibility on the part of crew to make sure that they keep up with their end of the bargain, and that's incumbent upon training organisations to make sure they're fully aware of what they're getting into. Certainly with regard to contracts, crew agreements, and this sort of thing, they need to know more about it in order to make a better decision. When I stand in front of a basic SDCW 95 training class and tell people about contracts, they do tend to roll their eyes and say, yeah, but it really doesn't mean anything, and it's nothing that we can do about it, and we feel it's important to make them know their rights and not to be confrontational to their captain. But if you haven't, after a month, been given a contract, and the last time I checked with a course of people that went through, 60% of them hadn't received contracts even though they were employed. half of them hadn't done a drill after the first month. We hopefully give them enough information to be able to ask the right questions and say, why haven't I received it, and could we stipulate or understand the terms of my leave, all the things we see on the forums causing crew problems. I mean, if you had to put one thing into place to help crew not fall foul of employment on board a yacht, it would be a contract, because all the problems are down to the grey area where a captain has his opinion, an owner may have his, and of course a crew member has that. So if it was clearly in black and white, I think it would benefit both parties. Hopefully the generation that are becoming captains now are part of the generation that learnt all these formalities all the way through, and so they're probably, hopefully, more used and more encouraging of crew wanting to know and have contracts and crew agreements, etc. I think it's definitely improving, but it's still, as you say, it's a difficult concept.
Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you.